The road to Blackridge Observatory wound like a silver ribbon through the hills, glistening beneath the late autumn moon. Arien walked it alone, camera bag slung across his shoulder, fingers cold but excited. Moon photography was his obsession, an escape from the noise of life, the chaos of the world, and the loneliness he never admitted to anyone. And the observatory. People avoided it. Which made it perfect. Local stories called it cursed. Some said screams were heard on blood moon nights. Others whispered that an astronomer once tried to freeze time inside its dome, trapping something, or someone, in the process. Arien didn't care for ghost stories. But he cared about silence. And up there, silence was guaranteed. The building waited atop the hill like a fossil of science, its once white dome now stained by storms and decades of neglect. The windows were cracked, the railings rusted, the paint peeling like old skin. Even from the outside, it felt abandoned in a way ordinary places weren't. He set his tripod up near the entrance and checked the sky. The moon was perfect tonight, round, bright, detailed. He could already imagine the shot. But then he heard it. A sound soft enough to be mistaken for wind. Soft enough to ignore. But not when it turned into humming. A melody moving gently through the cracks of the observatory door, delicate, sorrowful, and achingly beautiful. Arien froze. His breath clouded in the cold air. No way. Not tonight. Not here. He listened again. The humming grew clearer, almost human, almost fragile, like someone standing right behind the door. He stepped closer. The humming stopped. Silence returned, pressing on his chest like weight. "Hello?" he said, half whispering. He wasn't sure whether he expected an answer or was hoping not to get one. "Anyone here?" "Nothing." He pushed the door open. The rusted hinges cried out. Cold air swept over him, drenched in dust and faint moonlight. Inside, the observatory looked like a frozen memory, desks overturned, papers scattered, a massive telescope still standing in the center like a sentinel waiting for a command that would never come. And then he saw her. A girl stood near the telescope. Pale. Ethereal. Her hair long and drifting, as if underwater. Her dress white but tattered at the edges, shimmering faintly in the moonlight. When she looked at him, her eyes glowed, soft blue, luminous, not entirely human but filled with emotion so deep it made his heart clench. "You can see me," she whispered. Arien's stomach tightened. Her voice wasn't just audible. It was the same voice that had hummed. Yes, he replied, though he wasn't sure how. "Who are you?" She closed her eyes briefly, as though his question hurt. "My name is Lira," she said. "And I've been here for a very long time." The air around her shimmered. He suddenly understood. "You're a ghost?" She smiled sadly. "Something like that." Arien's instinct was to run. Every logical part of him screamed to. But something in her expression, loneliness, despair, a quiet suffering, overpowered the fear. "What happened to you?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, brushing invisible dust from her dress. "I was in love," she said. "And that love destroyed me." Arien swallowed. "How?" She turned toward the telescope, running a translucent hand along its cold metal. "This place was once beautiful," she said. "A sanctuary for the man I loved, Rowan. He was an astronomer's apprentice. A dreamer. A believer in impossible things. He wanted to touch the stars, and he believed time should never be allowed to take away what mattered most." "He tried to stop time?" Arien asked, incredulous. She nodded. "We planned to run away together. But he feared losing me. So he found a forbidden ritual, something ancient, written in a language older than this world." Her voice trembled. "He believed it could tether our love to the sky forever." "And did it?" Lyra's eyes darkened. No. It tethered me. My soul was caught in its pull. I died here, bound to this observatory, trapped between moonlight and shadow. Arien stepped back, heart pounding. I'm sorry, he whispered, because what else could he say? Lira gave him a faint smile. You're the first person in decades who has seen me. Why me? I don't know. She looked at him again, long, searching. But maybe, you were meant to. A gust of wind rattled the broken window panes. The temperature plunged. Lyra's face tightened with fear. You should go, Arien. He blinked. You know my name. She nodded. The observatory remembers every person who enters. Their presence echoes here. What do you mean, I should go? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Tonight is dangerous. The moon is growing full. And with the full moon comes the shadow behind it. The what? She backed away, fear flashing in her bright eyes. Rowan didn't simply vanish, she said. He became something else, something born from the darkness behind the moon. And on nights like this, he returns. A chill crept through Arien's spine. And he'll come here? He asked. She nodded. You should leave before he arrives. Arien hesitated. Something about Lira, her sadness, her loneliness, her strange luminous presence, pulled him closer instead of pushing him away. I'm not leaving you alone, he said. Her breath hitched. You don't understand. When he comes, he brings shadows with him. They crawl through walls. They devour anything warm. Anything alive. Then let them try, Arien said, surprising himself with his own resolve. You're foolish, she whispered, eyes softening. Kind, but foolish. The moonlight seemed to thicken, turning faintly red around the edges. Lira stiffened. It's starting. The telescope shook. The old dome creaked like something enormous pressed against it from outside. Arien backed up instinctively. What's happening? The blood moon is rising, Lira said. And with it, the curse awakens. Her glow flickered. Shadows slithered behind her like restless smoke. Arien reached toward her without thinking. Lira. She turned to him, pain etched across her face. I don't want to become what the curse turns me into, she whispered. Please, go. I won't. You might die. Arien swallowed hard. Then I die. But I'm not leaving. For the first time, tears filled her bright eyes, tears that looked like moonlit water. You shouldn't care about a ghost, she whispered. Too late, he said softly. Cracks spiderwebbed across the dome's ceiling. A deep rumble echoed, like something enormous scraping across the sky. Lira gasped. It's here. The moon turned fully red. A shadow descended. And Lira began to change. The transformation started slowly, almost gently, before the agony hit. Lyra's breath faltered, her translucent hands trembling as the red glow from the moon seeped into her form. Her hair, once drifting softly like strands of smoke, thickened and writhed like living shadow. The gentle light around her flickered violently, turning jagged, fractured, like a lantern about to explode. Arien rushed toward her. Lira, what's happening? She clutched her chest as if trying to hold herself together. The curse, she gasped. The blood moon, it awakens what Rowan twisted inside me. Her veins glowed dark, like ink pumping beneath her pale skin. It makes me, she doubled over, voice breaking. Become something I never wanted to be. Fight it. I can't. Tears slid down her cheeks, shimmering silver before turning black halfway down. I'm dangerous, Arien. I don't want to hurt you. Arien's heart pounded against his ribs. Every nerve screamed to flee. But one look into her terrified, glowing eyes made it impossible. You won't hurt me, he said firmly. You're not a monster. But I will be, she whispered. The telescope rattled violently as something enormous slammed against the dome from outside. The metal groaned, dust raining down. The old gears creaked like they hadn't moved in decades, but were being forced now. Lira looked up, horror spreading across her face. He's here. The air swallowed its own warmth. Everything turned colder than death. Arien's breath fogged instantly. His fingers stiffened. The dome's ceiling bulged inward, as if pressed by an invisible hand. A crack ripped across the metal surface. Then a voice echoed across the observatory, deep, warped, vibrating through the bones of the walls. Lira. Arien's blood ran cold. That voice wasn't human. It wasn't even close. Lira staggered backward, gripping the telescope for support. Her form flickered, shadows crawling across her body like vines choking the light from within. You need to hide, she whispered to Arien. Please. He's not like me. He's become. I don't care what he is, Arien said, stepping in front of her. He won't touch you. A low, distorted chuckle rippled through the dome. The ceiling splintered open. And he descended. Rowan, if he could even still be called that, no longer resembled a man. His body was tall and elongated, wrapped in swirling layers of darkness like torn space. His hair floated around him as if underwater, long and frayed. His face. Arien couldn't tell if it had one. The features flickered like a glitch, shifting between a ghostly handsome face and something much more monstrous, eyes hollow and burning, jaw broken and reshaping endlessly, teeth that looked like fractured shards of moonstone. He hovered inches above the floor, the shadows dripping off him like ink. Lira whimpered, collapsing to her knees. Rowan, please, don't. His gaze snapped toward her. Then to Arien. You found someone new, Rowan hissed, his voice layered like a chorus of echoes. Living. Warm. Foolish. His form expanded slightly with each word, the shadows behind him twisting like wings. You don't own her, Arien said, though his voice trembled. Rowan laughed, a sound like metal grinding against bone. I tethered her soul, he said. She is bound to moonlight, to this place, to me. She can never belong to you. She doesn't belong to anyone, Arien said, stepping closer to Lira, shielding her with his body. Least of all a monster. The temperature dropped again, enough to sting his skin. Rowan's shifting face leaned toward him. You dare. Lira struggled to stand, but her legs buckled. Stop, she cried. Rowan, stop. Please. But the curse inside her fought against her pleas. The shadows around her thickened, forming jagged lines across her face. Her nails sharpened. Her eyes blazed painfully bright. Arien looked back at her, heartbreaking. She was fighting to stay herself, but the moon was winning. Footsteps echoed in the observatory, though none of the three were walking. Shadows crawled from every crack, every broken tile, pooling at Rowan's feet. He stretched out a hand toward Arien. Let me show you what happens to intruders. The shadows lunged. Arien grabbed Lira, pulling her behind the telescope. The shadows slammed into the metal structure, shaking it violently. Lira cried out, clutching Arien's shirt to keep herself grounded. You should have run, she whispered, her voice cracking. I'm not leaving you, he said again. Ever. Her breaths turned shaky. Why? Why would you risk yourself for me? Because you deserve better than being trapped here forever, Arien whispered. Because your story shouldn't end in pain. Because. He hesitated. Lira stared at him, her glowing eyes wide, hopeful, terrified. The answer came naturally. Because I care about you. Her lips parted slightly. But Rowan roared, shaking the entire observatory. The telescope cracked. The metal dome rattled. The shadows swirling around Rowan twisted violently. You are mine. He lunged. Before Arien could react, Rowan's shadowy tendrils shot forward, wrapping around Arien's throat, his wrists, his ankles, lifting him off the ground. Arien gasped, choking, his legs kicking helplessly. Arien! Lira screamed, crawling toward him. Rowan held Arien suspended in the air, the tendrils tightening. I will show you the price of touching what is mine. No! Lira cried. Rowan, please! Her voice cracked with anguish. Her glow flickered brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again. She was fighting the curse. Fighting the transformation. And fighting for Arien. Rowan turned toward her, sneering. You would choose him? A mortal boy over what we were. What we were ended the night you cursed me, Lira said, rising shakily to her feet. You destroyed the love we had. You trapped me. You twisted me. She stepped forward, tears glowing like molten silver. You didn't bind me to stay with you, you bound me here alone. Rowan's shifting face flickered with anger, and something like heartbreak. Arien's vision blurred. His lungs burned for air. Lira saw it and screamed. Let him go. Her voice boomed like thunder. For a moment, everything stilled. Then Lira's glow exploded outward. Not light. Not shadow. Something in between, raw energy, pulsing with emotion so intense the air shook. Rowan recoiled instinctively. The tendrils loosened. Arien dropped to the ground, gasping, coughing, clutching his throat. Lira ran to him, holding his shoulders. Are you okay? Arien, look at me. He looked up weakly. She cupped his cheek with a trembling hand. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Rowan's rage erupted. You dare defy me, Lira? The dome cracked further. The telescope tipped dangerously. Shadows screamed along the walls. Arien forced himself to his feet, still wheezing. We need to break the curse, he said. How do we stop him? Lira shook her head. It can't be broken, she whispered. Not without the ritual book, and even then, it requires the missing line, the one Rowan hid. Where's the book? Rowan answered with a hiss. Burned. Lira shook her head again. No. It wasn't. She looked at Arien with desperate eyes. I know where it is. Rowan's head snapped toward her. You wouldn't. I will. Arien grabbed her hand. Where? She pointed to the darkest corner of the observatory. In the shadows, she said. Where Rowan hid it so I could never reach it. Arien clenched his fists. Then I'll get it. Lira grabbed his sleeve. No. If you step into the shadow, it will consume you. Arien met her gaze. I'm not afraid. And he stepped toward the darkness. The shadows gathered in the far corner of the observatory like a living pool of night, swirling and whispering as Arien approached. They moved unnaturally, against the airflow, against the trembling of the dome, against the logic of the world. The darkness sensed him. Lira crawled forward, trembling. Arien, please. Don't go in there. That place, it isn't made for the living. Rowan floated above them, his shape shifting, stretching, twisting as if each breath were a violent storm in his distorted body. You cannot take what is mine, Rowan hissed. The shadows obey only me. Arien ignored him. Every step closer made the shadows pulse, like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, malicious. The cold intensified, knifing through his clothes. His breath turned to frost crystals that dropped to the floor. But he kept going. It's here, Lira whispered. I can feel the book, but it's buried under everything Rowan became. The shadows churned like a vortex. Arien swallowed. Then tell me what to do. She looked at him with fear and something else, hope so fragile it could shatter at a breath. You must reach into the shadows, she said. But if you hesitate, if you think of fear, they will swallow you whole. Rowan laughed, voice echoing like breaking bones. He is human. Fear is all he has. Arien glared at him. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. Rowan's tendrils slammed into the floor, blasting shards of concrete into the air. The entire observatory shook violently. The dome's metal ribs groaned, ready to collapse. Lira shielded Arien with her own glowing body as dust and debris rained around them. Go, she said desperately. Before he brings this place down. Arien turned back to the writhing corner of shadows. His heart pounding. His breath shaking. His instincts screaming to back away. But he stepped forward. The shadows surged upward, wrapping around his wrist like icy chains, pulling him deeper. His skin burned from the cold. Lira screamed. Rowan laughed. Arien pushed in deeper. His fingers brushed something solid inside the darkness, something rough, leather-like, ancient. The ritual book. But as soon as he grasped it, the shadows screamed and tightened around him, climbing his arm, crawling under his sleeve. They wanted him. They wanted his warmth. They wanted his soul. His vision blurred. His chest constricted. Frost spread up his arm. Arien. Lira cried. Let it go. It's killing you. No, he gritted out, pulling with every ounce of strength. We need this, to save you. The shadows wrapped around his torso, choking off his breath. He was losing consciousness. Dark circles danced in his vision. Then. Lira grabbed him from behind, wrapping her arms around his shoulders, her glow flaring painfully bright. Let him go, she screamed at the shadows. Her light surged into them, burning them like fire. They hissed. They shrank back. They recoiled. The grip loosened just enough. Arien yanked the book free and stumbled backward into Lira's arms. The shadows slammed against the wall, furious, screeching. Rowan roared with rage. Lira. His form exploded into shadowy tendrils, whipping across the observatory, striking the floor, the telescope, the walls. Lira pulled Arien close, trembling. You did it. Arien, you. But Rowan's tendrils wrapped around her waist, tearing her out of Arien's arms and slamming her into the center of the room. Arien cried out. Lira. Rowan hovered above her, shadows dripping from his form like blood. You betrayed me, Rowan snarled. After everything I did to keep you. You cursed me, she screamed back. You stole my life. I preserved it. Rowan shrieked. I kept you from fading into nothingness. You trapped me in eternity alone, Lira whispered. That is not love. Rowan's flickering face contorted with pain, then pure fury. He lashed a tendril toward Arien. But Lira threw herself in front of him. The tendril struck her instead, dark lightning tearing through her ghostly form. She let out a cry of agony that shattered Arien's heart. Lira. Her glow cracked like glass. Rowan reeled back, stunned by his own strike. Lira fell to her knees, barely holding her shape. Arien, the book. Arien tore it open. Dust exploded from its pages. Strange symbols pulsed with moonlight. The language was old, jagged, unnerving. I can't read this, he said desperately. Tell me what to do. Lira crawled toward him, her glowing body flickering violently. You must speak the lines that bind shadow to flesh, she whispered. Then the line that releases the tether. Arien found the incantation. Rowan's tendrils whipped toward him. Arien shouted the words. The air crackled. Rowan screamed, his form glitching violently. Arien kept reading. Rowan staggered, shadows bursting from his chest. Lira forced herself closer, grabbing Arien's arm. One more line, the final one. Arien flipped the page, but the final line was missing. A long slash of burnt paper marked its place. "It's gone," Arien whispered in horror. "The last line, it's missing." Rowan laughed weakly, his body unraveling. "I removed it," Rowan rasped. "No one can break the curse." Lira grabbed Arien's hand. Her eyes glowed bright silver. "Arien, the final line isn't written in the book. It has to be spoken from the heart. It must be a declaration strong enough to sever the tether." "What kind of declaration?" he asked. "A truth that binds light to light," she whispered. Something Rowan never understood. Rowan shrieked. His shadows surged toward them. Arien grabbed Lira and pulled her tightly against him. He took a breath. And he spoke the only truth that existed inside him. "Lira, I love you." The words echoed. Vibrated. Burned with life. Lira gasped, her form erupting into blinding white light. Rowan's scream tore through the observatory, ripping the air. "No. No." The light consumed everything. Rowan. The shadows. The curse. The observatory trembled, then fell silent. The light faded slowly. Arien blinked. Lira stood before him. Not glowing. Not flickering. Solid. Human. Her skin warm. Her eyes soft. Her breath trembling. She touched her face in disbelief. I'm alive." Arien's heart cracked open. He cupped her cheeks, tears in his eyes. "You're here. You're really here." She smiled softly. Then her smile broke, and she sobbed into his chest. "Thank you," she whispered. "You freed me." The dome above them cracked fully, and cold moonlight poured in, not red, not cursed, but soft and pure. The telescope lay broken. The shadows were gone. The observatory felt peaceful. Lira looked up at him. "What happens now?" Arien brushed her hair gently. "Now you live," he whispered. "And if you'll let me, I'll stay by your side." Her eyes shimmered. "I want nothing more." She leaned in, pressing her forehead to his. For the first time in decades, she felt warmth. A real heartbeat. A real future. As they walked out of the ruined observatory together, the moon followed them, silent, watching, no longer cursed. The night felt alive again. And for Lira and Arien, it was the first night of a life neither had ever imagined.